In today's lesson, we're going to be learning lesson 10.3, which talks about shapes of distribution. The shape of distribution is just going to tell us how that data is displayed in that graph. And there are three different shapes of distribution that a graph could be. Okay, so it could be symmetric. The second one is skewed left. And the third one is skewed right. Okay, and we'll talk about what those mean in a minute. You can also add the word slightly to the beginning of any of those shapes of distribution if it's just barely skewed that way. So it could be, well, symmetric is just going to be symmetric. But it could be slightly skewed left if it's just a little bit, or slightly skewed right if it's just a little bit. And we'll look at some examples as to where that might be true. All right, now the shape of distribution is skewed and then named the side that has the least amount of data. We call the side with the least amount of data the tail. If you can see, there's a lot less data on this side than there is over on this side. So our tail is on the left, so we call this skewed left. Okay, so if you have a histogram or something, you can draw a little like bell curve over it, and you'll see where the tail is. It's kind of like where it flattens out, goes down and flattens out. That's called our tail. That's the side that we name it skewed, and then the tail's on the left, so it's skewed left. It's the side that has the least amount of data. Okay, a graph where all of the data is pretty much the same on this side and this side we call symmetric. Okay, it basically makes that nice little like bell shape. And then when the tail is on the right, the least amount of data is over here on the right, we call that skewed right. Oops. Skewed is what I was going to write. So it's skewed right. All right, so let's do some examples. We're describing the shape of distribution. So first thing we want to do, we can do this with dot plots too, is just draw that little curve. Okay, we want to look at which side is that tail on, the side with the least amount of information. Well, I would say our tail is over here. So this is going to be skewed. So if you have a tail at all, that means it's skewed, because notice how the symmetric doesn't have a tail, it's about the same. It would be skewed right, because the tail is on the right. For our passes thrown, looks like for football, we draw that little bell curve. And we are going to say that that graph is symmetric. It looks about the same on both sides. Okay. I would like you to take some time to pause this video, try the next two on your own, resume the video to check, and then you can pause again and try the next two on your own and resume the video to check. So right now, if we are following along, we should already have the names of these distributions written. So I'm just going to quickly go through and draw those curves. In the comedy attendance, the tail is on the left, so this is skewed left. For the animated movie attendance, the tail, the side with less data or less information, is on the right, so this would be skewed right. All right, pause the video, try these next two on your own if you have not already. Resume the video to check, or if you get stuck on this last one, you could just do this one on your own, check it, and then watch me work through this last one. We're going to draw our curve. All right, we are going to notice that the tail is over here. There's less information over here, more of the information's over here, so this is going to be skewed left. Now here's where it could be slightly skewed left. You can always add in that word slightly because it does kind of look like a nice bell, but it's just slightly got that little tail over here that it doesn't have over here. Okay, so you could even put slightly skewed left, and I would accept that as well. If this were on like a quiz or test or something, I would definitely accept both of these answers. Okay. For the frequency table, one of two things you could do. You could make the histogram so that you can draw your bell curve and visualize it. You could also just kind of guess and check like a little bell curve that you could draw with our frequency table since it's in order. So we'd start off at 3, we'd go up to 18, up to 36, up to 40, down to 14, down to 5. Okay, and then you can just kind of visualize your bell curve. It's not going to be perfect, but you're going to be able to basically see that this is symmetric. Okay, the two numbers in the middle are both high numbers. The next numbers coming down are going to be similar to each other, and the last numbers for each side are going to be similar to each other. So you would say that this is symmetric. I do not believe you will have a question like this on your check-in quiz or test or anything like that. Just a little extra information in case you were to ever see something like that. And that's it. That's all for shapes of distribution. We'll talk about shapes of distribution with our box and whisker plots as well in our next lesson. But for now, this is all we got. Make sure you write that summary. Talk about what is skewed left, what is skewed right. Maybe talk about that tail. Talk about where the data is in that graph, if it's on the left, or if there's less information or data on the left, then it would be skewed left. All that good stuff.